Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Lord Michael, I guess I should be describing myself as. Use the proper title. Anyway, jokes aside, we are going to discuss today the International Tax Competitiveness Index of 2022. So clearly, one of the things that we do in this channel, in this business, etc., is we discuss places where you can go, where you can optimize your tax, whether it is for you personally or whether it is talking about relocating your company. And so there is an index that was released by the Center for Global Tax Policy, the tax foundation. I'm going to respond to you in terms of what I think about this list, some places that I think are really tax competitive, some places that I think are not tax competitive. Thank you to Randy, one of our good clients, for sending this over. And we will see where this lands and maybe give you some ideas of possible places to get set up. So let's dive in. Before we do, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification bell, the little ding ding ringy bell thing, so that you don't miss out on any of our future videos. If you would like help with international optimization solutions, figuring out whether it is you're going to relocate somewhere, or you want to optimize your tax, you want to get a plan B, you want to protect your assets, you want to get a second citizenship, enhance your freedom, A, what is the best solution for you, and then B, help with actually implementing that solution. You can please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below, and you can send a message through offshorecitizen.net. All right, so what I'll do is I'll start by just reading through some of these in terms of the ranking. Now, the way that they do this list is they list, I believe it's 38 countries, and for each of those countries, they rank them across a variety of different criteria. So I'll kind of go over those criteria with you. I'm not going to give the details. If you want, you can always look up, again, just Google 2022 International Tax Competitive Index Rankings. You should be able to grab the PDF and go through it for yourself to see what they have to say. I obviously have kind of hands-on, on-the-ground experience and perspectives around what I think about their analysis. And so, yeah, we will go through it accordingly. So just quickly to note, there's an overall rank, which goes with an overall score. They have a corporate tax rank, an individual tax rank, a consumption tax rank, a property tax rank, and a cross-border tax rank. Now, obviously, these to some extent overlap, and some of them matter more to people than others. I can tell you that based on research that was done, property taxes have the least impact on whether people will relocate away or avoid a place. The highest impact tends to be in corporate tax. It's easiest to move a company as opposed to moving a person. So generally corporate tax rates are the highest, followed by personal tax, followed by consumption tax. People don't move that much based on their VAT rate. And then property tax. So, okay, let's go through the list of countries. So according to this, the #1 ranked place is Estonia. Estonia had a score of 100, followed by Latvia with a score of 89.9. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, Latvia inherited a lot of similar notions in their tax system from the Estonian system. There's a bunch of comparables. I highly recommend you stay away from Latvia. Stay away from Latvia in general in favor of Estonia. Estonia is much better. They just manage things in a much more reasonable way. There's like little quirks that maybe don't seem so apparent on the surface of the Latvian tax system that when you get into them, you're like, what? Why would you do that? This makes zero sense. And then I find that dealing with their tax authorities generally not as good. So Estonia is, to say that it's highly tax competitive, I think in a bunch of regards this is true. Certainly on the corporate side, that would tend to be true. Next, we have New Zealand. Then we have Switzerland. Then we have Czech Republic, Luxembourg, Hungary, Lithuania, Turkey, Israel, Australia, Sweden, Slovak Republic, Netherlands, Germany, Canada, Norway, Austria, Costa Rica, Finland, Japan, United States, Slovenia, Belgium, Korea, United Kingdom, Chile, Poland, Greece, Mexico, Iceland, Colombia, Denmark, Spain, Ireland, Portugal, Italy, and France. So according to this, France is the worst. Second worst bad is Italy. Third is Portugal. Fourth is Ireland. Fifth is Spain. Sixth is Denmark. Now, I've done a video recently about kind of like the worst tax countries to deal with, and that's kind of more practical because, for example, we had here sort of close to the bottom of the list was Mexico. Now, I've mentioned to people many, many times, Mexico is a high tax country where nobody pays their taxes. So you kind of have to figure out, where does that fit into your overall scheme? Is the Mexican tax scheme good? No, it's not good. On the other hand, are there ways to work around it in Mexico? Yeah, there are. So, you kind of have to think of it accordingly. So what's my response to this list? Well, first of all, most of the best tax countries in the world are not on this list. Let's just start with even let's call them reasonable places. In other words, not tax havens, right? So we're going to exclude all the Caribbean tax havens that are zero tax and all that. And we're just going to look at some place like Singapore, okay? Singapore, I would typically rank up there as, on many metrics, better than almost everything on this list. You can make some debates for a couple of them, but not on the list, right? Hong Kong, not on the list. Malaysia, not on the list. UAE, not on the list. We can run down the list, right? There's a whole point of this. So, it makes some of these places probably look a little better than they actually are, and so that would be one thing. Second of all, there's really big differences in these if you're a newcomer versus if you're not. Let's use Portugal as an example, right? Portugal, they're listing as, what is this, the third worst? Yeah, the third worst on the list. But at the same time, Portugal is a country which is super popular for people to relocate to. Why? Well, because of the NHR. So if you remove the NHR, not so good. And in fact, it will be really interesting to see how many people decide to leave Portugal once the NHR expires. We've had lots of people moving in for the Golden Visa, the D7, setting up to take advantage of crypto optimizations, setting up with NHR optimizations. They like the quality of life, etc. But if your tax rate suddenly jumps to 48% plus socials plus, how are you going to feel? Are you going to stay there? Some people might. Maybe they are engaged enough in the country that they will, but who knows? So bottom line, that's understandably low if you consider it for people who are already there. Similar thing I would say for Italy. If you go to Italy, you can obviously get the 100,000 flat tax. You can get the 7% for pensioners. You can get the 90% or 70% discount for people living in certain parts of the country who are newcomers. So that's quite a different scheme than just a normal person who comes from Italy and lives in Italy. Let's go through, with that in mind, some of the things just talking about, for example, the international rules. So Canada, for example, I believe scores quite high on the cross-border. No, they don't actually. They score at number 16, so not that good. I would disagree with a bunch of these rankings. I think that the ability to work around them is substantial. Like, let's use, for example, UK. Now, UK ranks number 1 for cross-border tax, number 10 for corporate, and number 24 for individual. Again, depends on where, whether you're a newcomer, whether you're not, whether you're non-dom, etc. But I would say that I would rank UK higher than Canada in most regards, with some exceptions. For example, the small business tax rate in Canada is a little bit better. The personal tax rate in UK is a little bit worse, but in general, I would say that's a bit off base. So bottom line is that most of the low tax countries in the world, most of the competitive tax countries in the world are not on this list. So given the list, it's not really that surprising that you would have something like Estonia at the top, but I would not give too much credit to this list in general because it's pretty bad. Some quick little updates, notable changes they list. Czech Republic increased the top tax rate on personal income from 15 to 27%, and so their ranking fell. France has been reducing its corporate income tax rate for several years, a process which concludes in 2022. As part of the scheduled reduction, France dropped its combined corporate rate, including surtax, from 28.41% to 25.83%. France has got a terrible tax system. I've done some videos on that. If you're interested in optimizing for tax, you can check that out. Ireland, prior to 2022, did not have a limit on the interest deductions. Now interest is limited to 30% of earnings before interest, depreciation, amortization. This is an exemption for borrowing costs below 3 million, and so their rank fell. Ireland is an interesting one because, of course, you have 12.5% corporate tax, which is fairly attractive, and then on the personal side, it's not particularly good at all, but you can have the non-dom, which is actually even more attractive than the UK non-dom. Italy repealed this patent box regime and replaced it with a 110% super deduction for research and development spending. New Zealand increased their top personal tax rate from 33 to 39%. Yeah, that was a very brutal one. And so I would say that they've become much less competitive, although there is a 4-year exemption on foreign income for people initially who go there. Turkey reduced its corporate tax rate from 25 to 23%. Reality is you'd never set up a company in Turkey anyway, so probably doesn't really matter. UK introduced a temporary 130% super deduction for plant and equipment. So those were kind of some changes. Obviously, recently they have been raising their corporate tax rate, so that's not so attractive, as well as a few other things in terms of stamp duties, etc. So hope that gives you some sense. My recommendation, I'll do another video on good places to set up companies, but aside from maybe Estonia and maybe UK in certain situations, I would mostly just stay away from these countries as places to set up if I wanted to optimize tax on the business side. On the personal side, it's more about where you're going initially and, you know, can you get a 10-year tax holiday or something like that that is going to give you really favorable treatment. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. Let me know what other content you'd like to see, and I will see you on the next video.